When actor Yu Menglong's lifeless body was discovered outside a luxury tower in Beijing, the official explanation was swift. A tragic accident, too much alcohol, nothing more to see. But almost immediately, whispers began to spread. Whispers of a final text message about dirty money, of an autopsy that didn't match a fall, of missing surveillance footage that mysteriously vanished before the public ever saw it. Some even claimed there was a secret video of Yu's last hours, showing humiliation at the hands of powerful figures in the entertainment industry. Was this really just a misstep on a drunken night, or the carefully staged end of a man who knew too much? Tonight on Criminal Tracks, we peel back the curtain on the scandal, the rumors, and the conspiracy theories that refuse to die. Stay with us, because the hidden truth may be far darker than anyone imagined. On the night of September 11th, 2025, the quiet of Beijing's Chaoyang district was broken by an event that would spark waves of shock across China and far beyond. Actor Yu Menglong, known to fans as Alan Yu, was found lifeless on the ground outside Sunshine Upper East, an upscale residential complex. News traveled fast through Chinese social media, only to be confirmed hours later by his studio. At just 37 years old, Yu's life had ended suddenly, and the official story was that it was nothing more than a tragic accident. Authorities quickly laid out what they said had happened. Yu had spent the evening with friends, gathering for dinner and drinks. At some point during the night, he retreated to a bedroom and locked the door. Hours later, his body was discovered outside the building. Investigators pointed to a damaged or loose window mesh as the point of exit. With no signs of foul play at the scene and with witnesses recalling Yu had been drinking heavily, the explanation was delivered swiftly. He had fallen to his death in a tragic mishap. The police statement was brief and carried an air of finality. They concluded that there was no criminal suspicion involved. The studio echoed those words in their own message, offering condolences but refraining from feeding speculation. Yu's mother issued a heartfelt plea to the public, asking that her son's death not be dragged into rumor or slander. She explained that he had been drinking, that it was an accident, and urged people to let him rest in peace. It was a mother's attempt to shield her son's memory from the whirlwind of gossip already beginning to form. But in today's media environment, silence does not settle questions. On Chinese platforms like Weibo and Douyin, the lack of detailed information created a vacuum. Within hours, hashtags related to Yu's death began trending, with users demanding more clarity. Why was a young and successful actor suddenly gone? Why had the police moved so quickly to call it an accident? And why did official accounts of the scene feel so thin? The answers were not coming, and that absence would become the spark for endless speculation. The state's response was to crack down rather than open up. Beijing authorities announced that individuals were being detained for spreading false information about Yu's death. Platforms began restricting searches of his name, and entire threads disappeared overnight. Posts that suggested anything other than the official version were flagged, locked, or deleted. For some users, this confirmed the government's claim that baseless gossip was being spread. For others, it was exactly the kind of heavy-handed reaction that convinces people something is being hidden. Meanwhile, tributes poured in from the entertainment industry. Co-stars and friends, from well-known actresses to fellow actors he had worked alongside, took to social media to share their grief. Some posted photos from past productions. Others wrote about his kindness and humor. Fans flooded comment sections with condolences, their messages a mix of disbelief and mourning. To those who admired Yu, he was not just another celebrity, but a familiar presence in popular dramas and variety shows. His sudden death was personal, and the official explanation did little to ease the sorrow. In the days that followed, the divide between the official story and the public's reaction only widened. State media repeated the same points. An accidental fall? Alcohol involved, no foul play. Police emphasized the danger of rumors and pointed to arrests as proof of their seriousness. The family kept their position consistent. reiterating that Yu's death was nothing more than misfortune. Yet outside the controlled channels, discussion continued to swell. The absence of detailed forensic reports, the lack of CCTV footage released, and the speed with which authorities closed the case all left gaps that people filled with their own theories. The building itself became a symbol of mystery. Sunshine, Upper East, a modern complex in the heart of Beijing, turned into the backdrop for speculation. People began to ask about the apartment Yu had entered, the friends he had been with, and the sequence of events leading to that final moment. The idea that he simply locked a door, leaned out of a window, and fell did not satisfy many. But with official statements standing firm and censorship tightening, no further clarity was offered. What remained was a story with two faces. On one side stood the official record, supported by family, police, and his studio. A young man who drank too much, locked himself away, and suffered a fatal accident. On the other side stood a restless public, refusing to accept that explanation as complete. Every silence, every deleted post, every crackdown added fuel to their doubt. And in that tension, Yu Menglong's death shifted from a tragedy into a mystery. The kind that lingers not because of what is known, but because of what is left unsaid. The official narrative of Yu Menglong's death left more questions than it answered. And the cracks in the story quickly became the entry points for speculation. Almost from the moment news broke, whispers of a hidden truth spread across Chinese and international social media. The absence of transparency and the swift clampdown on discussion only heightened the sense that there was more beneath the surface. Out of this silence came a storm of rumors and conspiracy theories, each more shocking than the last, and each spreading through a mix of blurry screenshots, alleged leaks, and anonymous testimonies that no one could ever verify. One of the earliest and most persistent claims revolved around a supposed autopsy leak. Within days of the death, posts began circulating, claiming that Yu had not died from the fall at all, but had been dead before his body hit the ground. The narrative suggested that the injuries documented in the autopsy were inconsistent with falling from a high-rise apartment. According to these rumors, the wounds were deliberate, precise, and even suggestive of torture. Some versions of the story went further, claiming that his abdomen had been cut open, as if someone had been searching for something hidden inside him. A handful of anonymous posts claimed a USB drive had been retrieved from his body, the kind of sensational detail that spreads quickly, precisely because it cannot be disproven. None of these claims were supported by official documents, but they resonated with an online audience already primed to doubt the police explanation. Alongside the autopsy narrative came stories of missing surveillance footage. Sunshine. Upper East, where the tragedy occurred, is a modern residential complex equipped with cameras in hallways and lobbies. Netizens began asking why no video had been released to the public. Had Yu truly locked himself in a bedroom alone? Had anyone entered or left in the hours before his fall? Rumors claimed that there had been corridor footage, possibly even recordings from a neighbor's peephole camera that captured the moments before Yu died. The story shifted over time, with some saying the footage showed multiple people with him, while others insisted it had been wiped clean by powerful figures trying to erase evidence. The more the public demanded to see the recordings, the more their absence was seen as proof that something had been hidden. Fueling the suspicion further was the viral story of a final text message allegedly written by Yu himself. Screenshots spread across platforms quoting him as saying that the money around him was dirty and that he was being manipulated by powerful authorities. The wording was vague, which only made it more magnetic, allowing readers to fill in the blanks with their own suspicions. Was he referring to financial corruption? To the entertainment industry's notorious backroom deals? Or to something larger, a political force reaching into his life? The message has never been authenticated, but it quickly became the centerpiece of conspiracy discussions. Commentators latched onto it as the clue Yu left behind, a breadcrumb pointing toward the real cause of his death. In parallel with the claims about texts and footage, Another rumor spread that his mother had gone missing after releasing her public statement. Some insisted that she had been silenced for speaking too directly about the cause of death. Others spun stories that she was under surveillance or had been pressured to retract her words. While mainstream outlets continued to reference her earlier plea for calm, the rumor of her disappearance grew legs online, fed by the lack of fresh updates. For many, the idea of a grieving parent being silenced seemed plausible in a system where public opinion is tightly controlled. Another rumor targeted the residents of Sunshine Upper East itself. Social media posts claimed that more than 100 households had suddenly listed their apartments for sale after Yu's death, afraid that the building was cursed or that its reputation would drag property values down. Though this figure was never verified by reliable real estate data, the story fit neatly into the atmosphere of fear and suspicion. The image of neighbors scrambling to escape the building turned the location into a character in the drama, no longer just a setting, but a place haunted by what happened. From there, speculation spread to darker corners of the entertainment industry. Some internet commentators began suggesting that Yu had been caught up in the notorious culture of sex-for-roles coercion. According to this view, his death was not an accident, but the result of systemic abuse and blackmail by powerful figures in the business. Online forums compiled lists of 14 suspicious points, each one pointing to a hidden network of coercion. The theory was that Yu had resisted or threatened to expose these practices and paid the ultimate price for it. No evidence was presented, but the idea resonated with long-standing public awareness of predatory behavior in the industry. The most extreme version of this narrative was the claim that a director had in his possession a video showing 11 people humiliating Yu before his death. Online posts described this footage in vivid detail, portraying it as the ultimate proof of a conspiracy. Supposedly, the clip had circulated briefly before being scrubbed from platforms. Whether it ever existed or not, the rumor of its existence was enough to captivate thousands, who traded secondhand accounts and screen grabs, claiming to show fragments of the tape. Names of fellow actors and actresses were dragged into the rumor mill as well. Gao Taiyu, a friend and co-star, found himself accused by anonymous accounts of knowing more than he admitted. He responded by filing a police report and releasing a lawyer's statement, firmly denying any involvement. Actress Song Yiren, also known as Irene Song, faced similar accusations and likewise took legal action, announcing that she had reported the matter to authorities. Their names trended not because of evidence, but because public fascination needed familiar faces to attach to the theories. Even major stars like Yang Mi and Dilraba Dilmurat, who had simply expressed public condolences, found their names caught up in the swirling speculation. While no credible source suggested they had anything to do with Yu's death, their fame made them magnets for rumors. The storylines only grew wilder as the weeks passed. One theory suggested that political elites or families with deep ties to the party were involved, forcing the case to be buried quickly. Another claimed that a hacker group was sitting on documents proving a 20 billion yuan corruption scandal connected to Yu's death. These ideas came largely from fringe outlets and YouTube rumor channels, but they reached international audiences hungry for dramatic explanations. The more the official narrative repeated the phrase "accidental fall," the more audiences outside China felt convinced that the truth was being concealed. For many observers, the parallels to earlier celebrity tragedies deepened the suspicion. The 2016 death of singer-actor Qiao Renliang, also labeled a suicide or accident at the time, remained etched in the public memory. The similarities between his sudden passing and Yu's case fueled comparisons, with netizens saying that the entertainment world had once again lost a young star under suspicious circumstances. It was not evidence in itself, but the pattern of mysterious deaths created fertile ground for speculation. By the end of September, what began as a tragic fall had turned into a labyrinth of rumor. Every missing detail became a clue. Every silence became an answer. Official statements, meant to settle the matter, only widened the gulf between those who accepted the accident explanation and those convinced of darker forces at play. The story of Yu Menglong's last hours was no longer just about what had happened in an apartment tower in Chaoyang, but about the unseen forces people believed were shaping the narrative itself. For millions of fans and online spectators, the truth had become secondary to the mystery, and the mystery was growing larger every day. As the rumors spiraled outward from the initial tragedy, the focus shifted from Yu Menglong himself to the shadowy world around him. The case had become more than a single incident. It was now a mirror reflecting the anxieties of an entire industry, a business long rumored to be driven not only by talent and hard work, but by the influence of secret deals, coercion, and power games hidden behind glamorous sets and red carpets. Yu's death, with its unanswered questions and tangled narratives, was transformed in the public imagination into a symbol of everything wrong with the entertainment world. At the heart of this transformation was the culture of whispered transactions that many claim is embedded in the system. Stories of actors being forced into compromising positions in order to secure roles or maintain careers have floated through Chinese popular culture for years. In Yu's case, those whispers hardened into theories. Online forums and blogs insisted that his sudden end was linked to a network of exploitation that punishes those who resist. Although no evidence directly connected him to such a scheme, the idea gained traction because it seemed to fit with the unspoken truths fans already believed about how the business works. His success, his struggles to maintain that success, and his mysterious fall became one more data point in a narrative that people had long suspected but never seen proved. The video theory escalated this perception dramatically. Claims that a director possessed footage of Yu being humiliated by a group of people before his death spread quickly, gaining the kind of traction that only shocking detail can produce. The alleged number, 11 assailants, was repeated so often that it began to sound like fact, even without proof. Some accounts even suggested the video had been briefly online before being deleted, a classic feature of internet conspiracies that makes denial impossible and belief irresistible. The more people said the video had been wiped from existence, the more convincing it became to those who already distrusted official explanations. Against this backdrop, the reputations of living actors and actresses became collateral damage. Gao Taiyu and Song Yiren were the most directly affected, dragged into the narrative without evidence, but with great personal cost. Each made formal denials, engaged lawyers, and went to the police, yet their names remained linked to the story in the minds of many. For actors like Yang Mi and Dilraba, the damage was less direct, but no less real. Their public tributes to Yu, gestures of mourning meant to honor a colleague, became twisted by rumor mills into supposed signs of guilty knowledge. It was a stark reminder that in the court of public opinion, simply being associated with the victim could make someone a suspect. The ripple effects went beyond individuals. The industry itself began to be portrayed as a kind of shadowy cartel, one where stars could shine brightly but remain vulnerable to forces beyond their control. Online essays and viral posts described a world of unspoken rules, coded exchanges, and constant threats. Yu's death was used as the latest case study in a pattern of suppression, silencing, and cover-ups. Whether true or not, the idea struck a chord with fans who had long suspected that the glitzy public image of Chinese entertainment hid darker realities. International audiences played a role as well. Outside China, where censorship is less direct, the rumors flourished. Websites and YouTube channels translated claims about missing CCTV footage, dirty money texts, and supposed hacker leaks into English and other languages. These stories took on a new life abroad, detached from the domestic crackdown that tried to smother them. In the hands of foreign commentators, Yu's death became part of a larger narrative about secrecy, corruption, and the cost of speaking out. The absence of transparent information from within China made these outside interpretations feel more convincing, even when they were based on speculation. As the weeks passed, what lingered most was not the verified facts, but the emotional weight of the unanswered questions. Fans who loved Yu's work found themselves torn between grief and anger. Grief for the loss of an actor whose roles had brought them comfort and joy. Anger at a system that seemed unwilling to open itself to scrutiny. This combination of mourning and suspicion created a powerful emotional engine for the spread of conspiracy theories. For many, believing that Yu had been silenced or betrayed was less painful than believing he had simply made a tragic mistake. What ultimately defined the scandal was not a clear discovery of truth, but the collision between two forces. An official narrative determined to close the case, and a public unwilling to accept closure. Every crackdown on rumors became proof of a cover-up to some. Every absence of evidence became an answer in itself. The gulf between what authorities insisted and what the public imagined only widened, leaving a permanent scar on the memory of Yu's passing. By early October, Yu Menglong's death was no longer just a celebrity tragedy. It had become a cultural flashpoint, a story that exposed the fragile trust between people and institutions. For fans and critics alike, the unanswered questions symbolized a deeper unease about how power operates in the entertainment world and beyond. Whether one believed in the official account of an accidental fall, or in the darker tales of manipulation and silencing, the fact remained that a bright life had ended too soon, and in its wake, the gap between truth and rumor grew so wide that no explanation could close it. In this gap lies the scandal that refuses to fade. It is not only about what happened to Yu Menglong in his final hours, but about why so many believe they may never truly know. Yu Menglong's death remains officially labeled an accident, yet the silence around missing details has only amplified suspicion. From alleged autopsy leaks to rumors of unseen videos, the story has spiraled into one of the most haunting mysteries in modern Chinese entertainment. Whether these theories are fact or fiction, the unanswered questions ensure his final hours will never fade from public memory. On Criminal Tracks, we uncover not just the man, but the storm his death unleashed. Subscribe now and join us as we continue to reveal the hidden scandals others want you to forget.